Alright, so I'm going to show you how to edit your interview audio in Adobe Audition. I'm only going to show you the basics for what you need for this particular assignment, so I'm just going to show you how to clip the audio, how to remove certain parts, how to change the volume, and how to apply some basic effects. So if your Adobe Audition doesn't look like mine for whatever reason, maybe because you have a prior version, instead of Audition 2022, you might have 2021. The most clear difference you might see is the absence of the Essential Sound panel on the right-hand side. If you don't see this Essential Sound panel, then you might want to go to the window menu at the top and then check the box next to Essential Sound so that you have everything you need to follow along with this tutorial. The next thing you're going to need to do is import your interview audio into the Files section of Adobe Audition. You can do this in more than one way. You can either click on this button that says Import File, or you can drag and drop it into this Files window, into the File section on the top left. I'm going to go ahead and use the button this time to import my file. It's in my Downloads folder, and I already have it on my computer. It's called audiosample.wav. Your file, if you recorded it using the Rode Recorder app, is also going to be a .wav file, and it will be supported by Adobe Audition. So once I found my file, I can click on Open, and now I see it here in the editor view. Right now, I'm in the waveform section of Audition. There are two sections. One is waveform to edit the original audio, and the other is multi-track, where you start to create your audio project with multiple pieces of audio, multiple effects, and all sorts of features. We're going to start out in the waveform view, and this is a really easy way to edit basically the original audio file. Whatever changes you make here are going to be saved to the file, as opposed to the more general project. In this case, you might be able to hear that this audio file was too quiet when I recorded it. Hopefully you're able to hear that. But if I want to make this louder, or quieter for that matter, I can use this little dial that shows up at the top of the editor window. If I drag it towards the right, it's going to make it louder, which I can see because these peaks became taller. If I want to make it quieter, I just drag it to the left, and that's going to make those peaks shorter. I can play and pause using these buttons at the bottom. The buttons at the bottom here let me know if this is turning out the way that I want it to. Once it sounds like it's at a good volume, the next step is to click on multi-track on the top left. This is going to change from the waveform view to the multi-track view and bring me into the project mode of editing my audio. So I'm going to click on multi-track, and what this does is open up a new multi-track session. I have to give the session a name. I'm going to go ahead and call it Interview Multi-Track. You can call it whatever you want. And it looks like it's saving to my documents, and that's fine with me. All of these other settings that come up as default are fine for our purposes. And click on OK, and now what I see is the Interview Multi-Track section. You can zoom in and out to particular audio sections, or you can make it so that particular tracks, like track 1, track 2, track 3, use up the whole screen. So since we're only going to have one track in this case, we're not going to have background music or any other background, we can go ahead and click on this little plus button to make it a little bit easier to see. Track 1 to make it larger, right? The next thing I'm going to do is drag and drop my audiosample.wav file into this view. And this is where I can start to clip out the ums, the wells, and the unnecessary pauses in my audio. I can see whenever the line is flat that that's a pretty long pause, right? So I could start by cutting out those pauses. What I would do is take the razor icon and line it up to wherever I need to cut up the audio. This creates pieces that I can drag and drop and move around later. Now I can select those pieces and go ahead and delete them to remove the pauses in between the audio, and I can click and drag the remaining audio to bring the different sections together. If I want two sections to blur into one another, sort of to fade, I can overlap them a little bit. This makes it so that if there's any background sound or any other kind of sounds, they're going to blend together at the intersection of the two clips. Another thing I might want to do, let's say I select all of these, is give these a particular preset essential sound filter. So I can go over here to the essential sounds panel and mark each of these 3 pieces as dialogue by clicking the dialogue button. This is going to bring up lots of options. Things like clip volume. I can change the volume again here if it wasn't quite the way I wanted it before. I can also click on enhance speech to make the speech a little bit clearer. High tone is for a higher pitched voice, low tone is for a lower pitched voice. I can also give it a custom preset option here and select podcast voice, which happens to be the one that I like. This is going to make it so that each of these are already set up for you in a predetermined kind of set of settings here. And I like doing this for audio interviews. Once you've set up those kind of things, you can go ahead and click on File, and then Export, and then Export with Adobe Media Encoder. This is going to pull up a new window where after a while it's going to open up Media Encoder for you, but until it opens up Media Encoder you can't really change these settings, so you have to wait. Let's go ahead and let my computer open up Media Encoder so that you can see the next steps. All right, it's opening. Okay, so once Media Encoder is open, you're not really done yet. You have to go back to this window that was loading, right? Back to the Audition window. And now you have to make sure that your Media Encoder format is set to MP3. And then all of the rest of the settings are going to be fine. Make sure you give your MP3 a particular name that you remember and check that it's going to be saved in a folder where you can find it. Then you can click on OK, and it's going to send it to your Media Encoder. As you can see here, it says done, and it has a link to that file. So now you can go and find this and upload it to SoundCloud for your interview project purposes. And that's basically what you need to use Adobe Audition.